None of the Predator films has ever broken $100 million at the US box office, and yet, for some reason, they just keep making them. So, with Predator Badlands hitting cinemas this Thursday, let's take a look at how every Predator movie stacks up. Budget versus box office. When people talk about action movies that just worked, Predator always comes up. But the original film didn't have an easy ride. John McTiernan's Predator was made for $18 million, but almost none of it went as planned. The big problem was the alien itself. The first Predator suit, yes, that was Jean-Claude Van Damme in there at first, looked ridiculous. People on set called it the Red Lobster. It only lasted 2 days before the producers shut things down and realized they needed something better. This wasn't cheap, though. The studio had to eat the cost of the first suit and production halted while they tried to save the movie. They brought in Stan Winston, a legend in creature effects, and let him redesign the Predator from scratch. But that meant the movie suddenly needed more money. Producer Joel Silver actually went back to Fox with a pitch. He showed off the new cloaking effect footage and said, "Look how cool this is. Imagine this, and then when the monster appears, it's even cooler." So Fox bit, signed off on the extra budget, and the now classic Predator design was born. With all those changes, the film ended up costing around $18 million. But it paid off big. Predator made $98 million worldwide, which is about $279 million today. And what's nice here is that the movie didn't just sell tickets. It got an Oscar nomination for visual effects, something no other film in the franchise has ever managed again. Predator 2 only happened because the first film was a hit and the studio wanted to cash in. This time, they bumped the budget up to $35 million and moved the action to an urban setting. Right away, there were problems. The producers wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger back, but the deal broke down over money, literally $250,000. Fox wouldn't pay his asking price, so Arnold walked. John Davis, the producer, admitted it was a bad move. Arnold's character never returned to the series. With Arnold out, Fox cast Danny Glover as the new lead, but he wasn't enough. Some of the crew said later they should have had Arnold in the movie, and the box office numbers proved it. Predator 2 brought in just over $54 million worldwide and only about $30 domestically. That's half of what the first movie did in the US. Behind the scenes, Predator 2 kept running into trouble. The team pushed the violence further, trying to top the first film. The MPAA gave them the very first NC-17 rating ever because the carnage was so over the top. Director Stephen Hopkins had to cut out over 20 minutes of footage and resubmit the film 20 times before they finally got an R rating. Reviews were mostly negative. People even called out the subtle racism in there because of dreadlocked predators. Schwarzenegger himself said the sequel really screwed it up bad because the studio rushed it out of greed. For 14 years, nobody touched the Alien or Predator franchises. But the 2000s rolled in and studios started digging through old IPs, looking for anything with nostalgia value to milk. That's how we got Alien vs. Predator, two of sci-fi's most iconic monsters thrown together by 20th Century Fox. Clearly, they were hoping to cash in on both fan bases at once. This one actually made money. With a $70 million budget, it brought in about $172 million worldwide. But almost everything about the project was controversial. Fox, dead set on a bigger box office, forced a PG-13 rating even though both franchises had always been hard R. The logic there was simple. More teens in seats, more money in the bank. The calculation worked, at least on paper. The movie pulled in a big number, but it alienated longtime fans. They hated that the violence and horror got toned down. Basically, it was a betrayal of what made Alien and Predator great in the first place. Behind the scenes, Paul Anderson actually shot an R-rated movie. He was open about how angry he was when Fox cut it down for a teen-safe release. Anderson also had some bigger ideas, like showing predators in other time periods like World War II, but those all got killed for budget reasons. 3 years later, Fox tried to fix the backlash with a sequel. Requiem was sort of the studio's apology tour. Fans had slammed the first one for being kid-friendly, so Fox brought in the brothers Strauss, visual effects guys, and handed them a much smaller budget, just $40 million. Requiem was set in a small Colorado town to keep costs down, and this time the movie went full R-rated horror. The Strauss brothers promised a return to hardcore roots, and they meant it. Requiem features some of the most graphic kills in the franchise. Kids, pregnant women, nobody was safe. That choice got its own backlash. A gruesome maternity ward scene in particular was called out as being in seriously poor taste. Trying to save money, they set most of the movie at night and made the lighting intentionally dark. So dark that people complained you couldn't see anything. The Strauss brothers claimed it was for atmosphere, but fans called it what it was, a way to hide the cheaper creature effects and puppets. Despite all that, Requiem did fine financially. It grossed about $128 million worldwide. Not as much as the first one, but with a reduced budget, it still made a profit. But the reputation damage was real. Rotten Tomatoes' score sank to 12%. Critics and fans trashed it so hard, Fox abandoned plans for a third one. That was the end of the crossover series. And as for the Strauss brothers, they only directed one more film, Skyline, and then moved back to producing and effects, never directing again. Predators kicked things back into gear in 2010. Fox wanted a return to form, so they dusted off a script Robert Rodriguez wrote way back in 1994. At the time, it was way too ambitious, multiple predators, a whole alien home planet, effects nobody could pull off in the 90s. Rodriguez said it was completely undoable, especially back then. The CGI just wasn't available like it is today, so I turned it in and kind of forgot about it. Fast forward to 2010, technology finally caught up, and so did the appetite for reboots. This time, Rodriguez produced, Nimrod Antal directed, and they actually made the Alien game preserve setting work without blowing the budget. Still, Fox was careful. They capped the budget at $40 million. Their plan was simple: keep it tight, stick close to what worked in 1987, prove there was still an audience, and only then think about bigger sequels. Casting here went a little left field. Adrian Brody as the lead, with a cameo offer to Schwarzenegger as Dutch. Schwarzenegger turned it down. He was governor of California back then, so the cameo never happened. The movie itself did fine, but not great. It pulled in $127 million worldwide on a $40 million budget. That's a clear profit, but not the kind that starts a cinematic universe. Fox wanted a bigger splash, didn't get it, and the franchise went back on ice. Only in Hollywood do you get a movie called The Predator that literally ends up casting an actual predator. That's how off the rails this franchise revival went. Fox wanted to make the biggest Predator yet. Brought in Shane Black, who played Hawkins in the original, gave him $88 million to work with, and set out to turn the series into a full-on blockbuster. But from the start, the production was messy. They shot a whole original third act where good predators were supposed to team up with humans in a big daylight battle. Test audiences hated it. Shane Black himself said it looked cheap, didn't feel like a real movie, and just wasn't working. Fox agreed, so they poured millions more into reshoots just months before release. But that wasn't even the worst part. Just as the film was about to come out, it came out that Shane Black had secretly cast one of his longtime friends in a small role and didn't tell anyone. Turned out that guy was a registered sex offender, convicted for attempting to prey on a minor. Actress Olivia Munn found out, went straight to Fox, and the studio panicked, cutting the scene just days before the premiere. Shane Black apologized, but the damage was done. The media jumped all over it. The box office numbers tell the rest. The Predator only managed $51 million in the US, about $160 million worldwide. With that $88 million budget, plus the last-minute reshoots and a fat marketing bill, the movie lost a lot of money. Prey changed everything for the Predator series, and it did it in a way nobody expected, by not going to theaters. Disney, fresh off acquiring 20th Century Fox and all its franchises, made the decision to put Prey straight onto streaming. No theatrical release, even though the film looks cinematic as hell. The move was all about business. Fact is, no Predator film has ever broken $100 million at the US box office. The real audience for these movies always found them at home, on video or television, not in theaters. So Disney's execs figured, why burn millions on a traditional release when the franchise track record is what it is? Instead, they turned Prey into a headline streaming event and bet it would drive subscriptions. Director Dan Trachtenberg, who shot the film for a solid $65 million, admitted he was disappointed at first. But he got Disney's reasoning. The studio needed to prove streaming could deliver real blockbuster quality, and Prey was the experiment. The bet worked. Prey smashed Hulu's premiere records, became the most-watched debut on the platform at the time, and critics loved it. 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, a total reversal from the last movie. People like Kevin Smith said Prey was so cinematic it could have been a theatrical hit in a different year. But Disney made it clear. Prey's job was to raise Hulu's profile and give the streaming service a real event movie at a time when everyone's fighting for subscribers. That's exactly what happened. This one is the first animated Predator movie, and instead of one big story, it's an anthology. 3 separate tales, each set in a different time period, each pitting a legendary warrior against a predator. There's a Viking, a samurai, and a World War II fighter pilot. Each faces the predator on their own turf. Animation wasn't just a style choice, it was practical. Trachtenberg, who basically runs the franchise now, wanted to push the Predator and history idea way beyond what live-action budgets or logistics would allow. With animation, they could do things like aerial dogfights between World War II planes and a Predator spaceship. And they didn't need to worry about on-location shoots or big effects budgets. The budget here was $50 million, even less than Prey's. Again, there was no theatrical release. Killer of Killers premiered exclusively on Hulu and Disney Plus with a tight 86-minute runtime made for streaming. Disney stuck to the same financial logic. Skip the risky theatrical rollout, deliver something big for their own platforms, and keep the Predator franchise moving forward in a way that makes sense for the current market.